Betty?
Betty! Betty, oh my princess, why did you...
The one thing Simon always wanted, his sanity, has finally been restored.
But at what cost?
Betty, the one who spent her life trying to save him, is gone forever.
Betty!
It's a lesson of sacrifice, love, and identity. Before we get to that tear-jerking moment, we need to understand how Simon became the Ice King, how he pushed Betty away, and why their love, despite everything, never truly disappeared. In his early days, Simon Petrikov was a respected archaeologist, deeply fascinated by ancient artifacts and the mysteries of history. That passion led him to one of the most fateful encounters of his life, Betty Groff. Betty had admired Simon's work long before they met. She was one of his biggest fans, fascinated by his research into the unknown. But admiration quickly became something deeper when the two began working together. Their collaboration led to the discovery of the Enchiridion, an ancient book of heroic lore in the Hindu Kush Mountains. Betty insisted that Simon take sole credit for the find, hoping it would elevate his standing in the scientific community. This selfless act was a testament to her deep affection and belief in his potential. They shared the kind of connection that felt effortless, natural, like they had always been meant to find each other. When Betty made the choice to go to the outback in Australia, she almost left. But then Simon found the letter she had written him hidden inside of a book that she knew Simon was going to borrow next. It was a confession of love. At the last moment, when Betty was at the bus stop, Simon ran after her and also confessed his love for her as well. And as a result, Betty never went to Australia and she stayed with Simon. A love story like that should have lasted forever.
But everything changed when I came into contact with this item.
Purchased from a dock worker in northern Scandinavia, Simon acquired this crown. It was a strange, intricate relic that seemed ancient beyond comprehension. It was supposed to be just another artifact, another mystery to decode. And then, as a joke, he put it on.
And that's when it started. The visions. I fought with them, shouted at them until I realized it wasn't real, it was the crown!
In that instant, everything changed. Flashes of a frozen kingdom, a voice whispering in a language that he didn't understand, power beyond comprehension. It was terrifying, but not as terrifying as what would happen next. When he took the crown off again, Betty wasn't there to comfort him. She was looking at him full of contempt.
What had I said? What had I done when I wore this crown? All I know is I never saw Betty again.
She was gone. Not because Simon told her to leave, not because she had stopped loving him, but because she was terrified of what he was becoming. In the short period Simon first wore the crown, he searched for her frantically, calling her name, firing ice bolts into the sky, desperate to find her again.
Where's my Betty? Where's my princess? Princess!
Simon, don't leave me like this.
That was the moment he first lost her. And it wasn't the only thing he would be losing. Simon didn't remember anything from the period he wore the crown. For all he knew, Betty left him for whatever happened during that time. And that was only the start of it. The visions started to continue, whether he was wearing the crown or not.
They tell me the secrets of the ice and snow, that the power of the crown will save me with its frost.
Then the physical changes started.
As you can see, my skin is beginning to turn blue. My body temperature has been lowering at a supernatural rate to what is now about 30 degrees Celsius.
It left him desperate. No one knew what he was going through or how to help him. Simon tried to document everything. If no one could save him, he had to at least save a record and leave every bit of humanity in him with that recording.
I don't know when it will end. I'm really scared.
But recording it didn't stop it. The forgetting kept worsening. At first, small things, then entire moments. He couldn't save himself anymore. It was too late.
I know my mind is changing, but I'm already too far gone to know what to do.
Every day, he was losing more of himself. Until there was just one final thing left to say.
I want people to know that if I do things that hurt anyone, please forgive me.
All Simon wanted was for people to know that whatever happened, none of it was his choice. Then, after spending some years in social isolation, the world ended. The Mushroom War consumed civilization. Fire rained down from the sky. Cities crumbled. Simon should have died with everyone else, but the crown kept him alive. He wandered the ruins of the world, a broken man with a shattered mind, waiting for the day the crown would take what little was left of him. And then he found her in the chaos of it all, a child, small, alone, Marceline. Simon didn't hesitate. He took her under his wing, held her close, and for the first time since losing Betty, he had a reason to keep going. Even as his mind continued to slip, even as he felt the crown eating away at him, Simon held on. For her, but he knew it wouldn't last. The world was a complete mess after the Mushroom War, and there was only one way he could protect Marceline from danger: by wearing the crown.
You're not going to put it on, are you?
I have to protect us.
After that, the two kept adventuring, bonding, and sharing great moments together, but danger kept getting worse. Later, when mutants began surrounding them in an alley, Simon had only one option left.
Don't leave me here, Simon. I can fight!
I'm sorry, Marcy.
Simon!
He puts on the crown, protects Marceline with all the power the crown gave him, and when he took it off again, he was never the same. The visions were getting too much for Simon. He started forgetting more and more, even Marceline's name.
I love you, Simon.
I love you, Gunter.
Simon clung to what little humanity he had left, growing more and more terrified. Terrified of not only losing himself, but also terrified of the crown making him hurt Marceline. That's when he made one last tape.
Hello, Marcy. I don't know if you'll ever hear this message. I fear my thoughts are no longer my own.
One last tape for the two women that meant everything to him. With what little memory he still had left of Betty, he pled to her.
Just watch over me until I can find my way out of this labyrinth in my brain and regain my sanity.
He kept clinging on for that one fateful day, that one day that he would see her again.
And then maybe, Betty, my princess, maybe you will love me again. Please love me again, Betty.
And right after that, he sacrificed his unconditional love for Marceline.
Seriously, Simon, please don't go.
I have to protect you.
It was the only thing he could still control, walking away before he became something else entirely. And after that, Simon Petrikov was gone. All that remained was the Ice King. A lonely, delusional old man, searching for a princess, even if he couldn't remember why. A man who had once given everything for love, now reduced to a mere shadow of what he once was. But hope still remained, for that one encounter, the one that would change everything. But for Ice King, it would take almost 1,000 years. After tricking the secret society, Bella Nosh appears. It was an entity capable of erasing magic, and with its appearance, Ice King was briefly freed from the crown's influence and got his sanity back. Simon Petrikov returned, and when he returned, all he could think about was that one girl from 1,000 years ago to give her every explanation she's been owed. So he calls up Marceline and explains everything really quickly.
Marcy, it's me, Simon. I'm back, but my body might donk out soon, so get to the Ice Kingdom fast and help me with this time portal so I can find Betty and say I'm sorry before I croak boat.
Marceline, Finn, and Jake arrive, and together they open the portal. That's when he finally sees her again and tells her everything he's been dying to share after all these years.
The portal is closing. There's no time to explain. Just know that I love you and I forgive you for leaving me.
But before he could explain, before he could tell her how much he missed her, Betty jumped. She didn't hesitate. She threw herself through the portal, vanishing into the unknown. Simon had opened the portal to say goodbye, but Betty wasn't there to listen. She was there to fix everything. And when she found him, he remembered her. For the first time in 1,000 years, they were together again. But time wasn't on their side. Without the crown, Simon was dying. Every moment that passed, his body grew weaker.
Simon? Huh. What's wrong? Are you sick?
No, I'm old. The crown was keeping me alive, but its magic was negated by the creature Bella Noche.
But Betty refused to let him go. She had already lost him once. She wouldn't lose him again. Bella Noche was the reason Simon was free, but it was also the reason he wouldn't survive. She defeated Bella Noche, and in doing so, magic returned to the world. The crown reawakened, and in an instant, Simon was gone. The Ice King was back, and his memory, gone.
So then, Ron James told me this girl I was with flew into Bella Noche and mysteriously defeated it for me. Wow!
Betty stood there, watching him.
Go! Ah!
Watching the man she gave everything for disappear in front of her eyes. She had traveled across time, given up her life, and it still wasn't enough. However, that still didn't stop her. She never stopped believing that she could get Simon back. The crown was the key. If she could change the magic inside it, if she could rewrite its power, maybe, just maybe, she could bring Simon back for good. And so, she began searching. For answers, for magic, for anything that could undo the curse once and for all. Because she knew the truth. Simon was still in there, somewhere. And she was gonna find him, no matter what it took. She kidnapped Gunter, Ice King's beloved penguin, exchanging it for Ice King's crown with success. She then tampered with the crown, inserting an AI version of herself, hoping to rewrite its magic from within.
Betty, I love you so much, but you can't help me like this.
I can and I will help you, Simon.
But it didn't work. It only made the Ice King more unstable, and the deeper Betty fell into magic, the more she lost herself. Taking Magic Man's abilities gave her power, but it also came with something else. His madness. For the first time, Betty wasn't just losing Simon, she was becoming him. When everything else failed, there was only one option left. Betty summoned Golb together with King Man, the primordial god of chaos, a force of pure destruction. She believed harnessing its power could fix everything, but Golb didn't heal, it consumed. Its arrival threw Ooo into chaos. Everything crumbled and reality itself began to collapse. Betty had wanted to save Simon, but instead, she had doomed the world. Finn, Simon, and Betty were swallowed whole. Inside, the chaos stripped them down to their purest forms. So, the Ice King again was gone, and Simon was himself again. For one final moment, they were together, and Betty realized something.
I figured out what's wrong with the crown. It reset, just like us. It's in its primal wishing form now.
A wish powerful enough to change everything. Simon saw it too.
We'll make the wish after we escape.
But that wouldn't work. Only inside Golb does the crown hold its power to make one final wish. So Betty looked at him, the man she had spent a lifetime trying to save. And in that final moment, she made her choice.
I'm sorry for messing everything up.
Wait! Betty! Betty!
She pushed Simon out and made her wish. She didn't wish for Simon to be saved. She didn't wish to fix the past.
However, it has to happen. I wish for the power to keep Simon safe.
She wished for Simon to be safe, and Golb took her body, her soul, her existence. The entity that had once been Betty Groff merged with Golb, becoming part of the chaos itself. Simon was free, but Betty was gone.
Betty? Betty! Betty!
Simon regained his sanity, but as he stood there, looking at the empty space where Betty used to be, he realized the truth.
Oh my Betty, my princess, why did you...
He had spent his whole life waiting for the day he would see her again, and when he finally did, she was gone, and this time, he couldn't save her. Simon's entire story teaches us that love isn't just about what you gain.
It's about what you're willing to give up.
When he started becoming Ice King, Simon could have let the world take him. But then he found Marceline. Even as the crown ate away at his mind, he stayed and kept putting it on to keep Marceline safe. He sacrificed his own sanity out of love for Marceline. And when he knew that he was losing control, he left that one thing he cared about most. Not to save himself, but to protect her. Years later, Marceline had to make a choice. To give Simon a chance at seeing Betty again, she gave up Hambo, her last connection to Simon. It hurt.
But love isn't about holding on. Sometimes it's about letting go.
And then Betty. She spent her life trying to save Simon. She crossed time. She rewrote magic. She lost her sanity. And in the end, she wished for only one thing.
I wish for the power to keep Simon safe.
She gave up everything, and Simon was free.
Love is sacrifice.
But Simon isn't the only character whose journey is defined by pain and sacrifice. Finn's story is just as profound. Losing his arm wasn't just a physical wound, it was a turning point that reshaped his destiny. How did it change him? What did it teach us about loss, growth, and resilience? Click this video next to uncover the full story of Finn's greatest struggle. Trust me, it's a journey you won't forget.